Yo, what's going on YouTube? It's Jerry the Boss here with my Week 2 ASPL battle. I'm your coach of the Harrisburg Hitmonleys, and we are facing the high tier Shuckle this week. So, my team, as you may remember from last week, was Celebi, Delmaz, Escavalier, Grimmsnarl, G-Max, Lapras, Noivern, Rapirier, I don't know. Rotom Heat, Terrakion, Toxapex, and Top Null. And my opponent has Crustle, Darmanitan, Ditto, very threatening, Dusclops, G-Max Hatterene, Haxorus, Jirachi, Leafeon, Ninetales, Alolan form, Pangoro, and Rotom Wash. So that's a pretty threatening team just looking at it. I think the G-Max Mons in this format are always going to be the most threatening Mon on anybody's team, but the Ditto is actually a low-key threat because my Grimmsnarl a lot of times likes to bulk up and just win, honestly, but if I bulk up and the Ditto traces my boost, then I'm kind of behind the 8 ball there because it can outspeed my Grimmsnarl guaranteed with the Choice Scarf and potentially KO it. But let's get on into the team that I'm bringing and why I'm bringing it and all that. So I'm bringing Rapirier, Top Null, Grimmsnarl G-Max, Escavalier, Rotom Heat, and Noivern. So Rapirier is here. Originally it was going to be offensive, but I started looking and the overall team matchup didn't really call for it. I had the offensive mons in the back that I needed. I also had Celebi originally over the Rotom Heat, but the Rotom Heat just had such a good defensive matchup. Even you didn't even have to run it very defensively, and it's just its topping covered a lot of my opponent's team. But so I switched Celebi out. Celebi was originally going to be the rocker, and Rapirier was going to be offensive, like I said. But now we're rocking Stealth Rocks, Swords Dance, Mega Horn, EQ with leftovers, Solid Rock ability, 252 HP, 160 attack, 72 with a plus nature and defense, and 24 in Spadef. So the Rapirier was here mostly for the Darmanitan. This is regular Darmanitan from Unovian, whatever you want to call it. And that's a massive threat. Just with Sheer Force Flare Blitz, I think that's like a 156 base power move before stab. And Darm has like a 140 base attack. So that's pretty crazy if you ask me. And I really needed something to switch into it. So the HP and defense allows Rapirier to take 2 banded EQ. No, I don't think it takes banded. Scarf EQs. Again, this was like a month ago when I did this, so forgive me if the calc seems off. I'm kind of just doing this in my head, but I think it takes. I know it takes 2 Scarf EQs, and it might take banded. I'm not sure, but it definitely is going to be my dedicated switch in. Whenever that thing comes in, you better believe that Rapirier is at least my option to go into it. So moving on, we got Top Null here. That's going to be mainly for the G-Max Hatterene. So we're running 252 HP, 28 in defense, and 228 in Spadef with a careful nature with the Eviolite and battle armor. The moves are Rest, Sleep Talk, U-Turn, and Shadow Claw. I know that Top Null is faster than Hat, like always. I'm pretty sure even Timid max speed Hat can outspeed Top Null. So, or mid speed Top Null. I know it can't outspeed max speed Top Null. But anyway, so my plan here was I'm pretty sure I could take Psychic or Max Mindstorm into Max Mindstorm with Psychic Terrain and then rest off So that would allow me to kind of stall out the turns. If not allowed me to take those first two, it definitely allowed me to take one and then rest off and kind of stall out his turns there to try to move forward in the match afterwards the best I could. But so yeah, that was really just its main purpose. It can take some hits from the Rotom Wash and the Alola Ninetales if it needs to. It doesn't really mind Ditto coming in because it cannot be hit by my attacking move, or by one of my attacking moves in Shadow Claw. It can get hit by U-turn, so that's not the worst thing in the world, because Ditto tracing Top Null's U-turn will always be faster, assuming it's Choice Scarf anyway. It will always be faster than my U-turn, so I actually get the momentum if I click that. So that's pretty good. Moving on, we got Grimmsnarl here with the black glasses. If you look at his team here, his dark top switch-ins are Alola Ninetales and Pangoro. And the Alola Ninetales is pretty weak on the Fizdef side, so I thought that the G-Max Snooze would do a lot of damage. I didn't really calc it, and the Pangoro, I wasn't really expecting it to come, but if it did, I know it can't take a play rough, so I wasn't as worried about it. As you can see, the other moves are Darkest Lariat, Bulk Up, Play Rough, and Taunt with the Prankster ability. We've got 168 in HP, 84 in attack, 48 in defense, 44 in Spadef, and 164 in speed with a Jolly Nature. So the 164 with a Jolly Nature is to outspeed Adamant, max speed Pangoro. I think the 168 and 48 HP and defense respectively allow me to live one Iron Head from Jirachi without being G-maxed. So I don't know if that's accurate, but I think it is. And the Spadef were leftovers. The attack was to allow me to Oko the Dusclops. I know for a fact that's what that was, because I know that Dusclops is a very bulky boy, and I didn't think it would Oko without some investment, so that's what that's for. Escavalier, it's here to switch in to Haxorus for sure. There's some other mons that it's kind of useful for, like Leafeon if it comes. It can take any move from Jirachi besides Fire Punch, and I think it probably could even live one if it needed to. We got the leftovers with Shell Armor, because we ain't getting crit out here by the Haxorus. We have Ironhead, Knockoff, Encore, and Fell Stinger. So Ironhead and Knockoff kind of cover his team pretty well for what I needed to do. Like, I'm not going to stay in on the Darm, obviously. And it's going to be pretty rare that I stay in on the Hat if it's in. And yeah, so the last two moves I was kind of just sitting there wondering about, and I decided to put Fell Stinger because I thought if I could get a cheap KO on like Haxorus or something if it's weakened and get the +3, the Escavalier is kind of a threat coming off of the base 135 attack. Even if I don't have any investment, it still hits pretty hard. Oh, I didn't go over the EVs on this. So it's 252 HP, 216, and 40 Spadef with an Impish Nature. If I did go over that already, like, whatever, hopefully it's funny. So, anyway, Rotom Heat, we're going with the choice specs this week. This idea came from Lernus. I'm going to have to shout him out on that one. I definitely didn't even consider Rotom Heat, but after looking at it, it has a really good matchup. I know most of y'all are sitting there thinking, oh, Rotom Wash is better. No, Rotom Heat is better, I promise. And once we get into the battle, I'll prove it to you. But we're rocking the Volt Switch, Thunderbolt, Overheat, and Shadow Ball with 248 EVs in HP, 32 in defense, 76 in special attack, 28 in Spadef, and 124 in speed with a modest nature. I decided to make it just fairly bulky because, like I was talking about earlier, its topic alone helps it wall a lot. But with minimal investment in defense and SPDF, it really does take care of a lot. The speed was for, it's kind of like the speed creeps I had last week. It was for mint speed Jirachi and then plus a few EVs, if that makes any sense. So there's that. Noivern, Choice Scarf Noivern. So I'm very terrified of Haxorus. It's probably one of the best mons out there right now. If I would have thought better of it, I probably would have looked at grabbing it, but it just didn't work with my team. But anyway, so Choice Scarf Noivern can always outspeed a +1 Haxorus no matter what. I think Haxorus hits 322 with a Jolly max speed nature, or max speed EVs, and so that's what's that for. Maxed out the special attack stat, 252 modest, 72 in HP, and 20 in SPDF. The 20 in SPDF were leftovers, and I think the 72 was to take one hit from, I feel like it could take a hit from Ninetales or something like that. Not a Blizzard. No, there's no way. I don't know. Okay, it's been so long. But anyway, that's what I'm bringing. So let's hop on over to the battle right here. So you can see what the high tier circle brought. They brought Alolan Ninetales, Rotom Wash, Jirachi, Darm, Haxorus, and Ditto. So obviously, you can notice right away the G-Max is not here, which kind of nullifies the entire reason why I brought Top Null. So, just looking at that from the very start, I tried to learn from the previous week's battle, where I kind of sacked certain mons and then didn't adjust my playstyle accordingly, and recognized early that, you know, Top Null wasn't as useful, so I can play more loosely with it. So that'll come into play fairly early. Yeah, so I've got my 2-gallon jug of Germex over here, and let's get into this battle and see what happens. So, yeah, so he leads off with Haxorus, and I'm leading off with Rotom Heat. So, obviously at the beginning of the battle, you don't really know anything about the opponent's team, so I was fearing Scarf EQ off the Mold Breaker. It'd kind of obliterate my Rotom. And that was the other thing I noticed about the lead matchup, was that Rotom Heat had a fairly good matchup. Like Ninetales walls it for the most part. Can take the electric moves from Rotom Wash. Walls Jirachi indefinitely. It may get like 1 or 2 moves that I wouldn't want to switch into, but none that I expected him to bring. Darm, unless he's locked into Rock Slide, because I'm expecting him to bring some form of a choice. Unless he's locked into Rock Slide, I can switch into that thing forever. And then Ditto, if it copies my Rotom, then it can't kill me with anything. Oh, that's another thing I forgot to mention in the team builder. The reason I had Mega Horn and EQ, that was actually skillfully calculated. So the EQ was, obviously it's just stab and it hits his team pretty well, but the Mega Horn was for 3 reasons. Leafeon and Rotom Wash were 2 of them. The other was in case the Ditto traced my Rhyperior, I didn't have a way to hit Rotom Heat. So when I face a Ditto team, I always try to make sure that I have an out against myself, basically. So that was my out against Rhyperior, because I knew that Rhyperior's the GOAT, and it could destroy my team too. So didn't want that happening. But anyway, let's move on with the battle. So I'm going to switch out here into Escavalier. It's my dedicated switch into Haxorus, and he's... I'm not sure about the gender of my opponent, but so he switches into, I know I'm going to pause. I will probably say he more often than not in all of my videos, but that's not because I'm taking shots at anybody. I'm just unfamiliar with the genders of my opponents. I don't really talk about that kind of stuff online, but Anyway, so my opponent switches into their Ditto to kind of gauge my set, I guess, which is a pretty good switch if they notice this Cavalier was going to be my switch in, or I guess Grimmsnarl would be my other one, but I wouldn't. I would never consider Grimmsnarl. So I had to switch out, obviously. Like I said earlier, I'm pretty sure. Let's swatch here. Okay, I double out into Rotom Heat again because I know that I can take all hits from myself. So switch out into Rotom Heat, switch back into top, or switch out again into Top Null, because like I said earlier, I can play fairly loose with my Top Null. Its main reason for being here is not here, so and it's got rest talk, so I can take any status conditions or anything like that and just rest them off and really not care. So the Rotom goes for Hydro Pump here, and then a Will-O-Wisp as I U-turn out into my Noivern. Yeah, because Noivern can take both stabs. So he switches out into Jirachi, and as I U-turn out into my Rotom Heat, the U-turn play there, for any of you familiar with Noivern, it doesn't normally have coverage that can hit. Well, it has Dragon coverage to hit Rotom Wash fairly heavily, but my one attacking move was Dragon Pulse, as you saw earlier, and I didn't really feel like clicking Dragon Pulse there was the wave. I thought he would switch out, so I just went ahead and U-turned into Rotom Heat. It got me the advantage over Jirachi. So, let me get some water. Switches into Ditto here. As I Volt Switch, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I Volt Switch out to get the momentum. This is going to be a heavily Volt turn based game. As you can see, I have 3 members carrying pivoting moves, and as we'll see throughout the battle, my opponent has 3 with the opportunity to trace another in Ditto, so that's 4. So a lot of this is going to be trying to get the upper hand in positioning on the U-turns and the Volt Switches and things like that. So my opponent here switches out, fearing a rock move on my Rhyperior into Rotom Heat, and I take this opportunity to just throw up my rocks. The only removal on my opponent's team is Rotom Wash, and I'm really just trying to feel out whether or not my opponent's carrying the Defog. So I switch into Top Null again. It's very expendable. It's heavily Spadef invested. And here I think I Shadow Claw, predicting the Jirachi. Yeah, but I'm burned, so that's not going to do a lot. I get a crit, 21%. That may come into effect later on, but for right now, I'm just going to switch into Rotom Heat. U-turns out into their Rotom. Okay, so I switch out into Top Null. Now, I know y'all heard me talking smack earlier about Rotom Wash, but y'all just wait. Okay, so I didn't want to flex too hard in the early battle. Trust. So anyway, though, the Rotom Volt switches out. From this damage that he's been doing consistently, you can tell he's defensive, and he's got the leftovers, as you probably just saw right there. So I didn't really expect anything too crazy, and the fact that he's not very invested means that my Top Null is fairly safe every time. And from what I can tell, my Top Null is generally just a nuisance to my opponent's team. And that was kind of what I was going for after I saw that it wasn't very useful. So I'll rest up here, predicting the U-turn. Yeah, so that'll get rid of the burn. And this is where the Top Null mirror match comes into play. So obviously the only thing he can click is U-turn. And so I take advantage of that and burn a sleep turn. And I get Slept Talk into U-turn, which allows me to get in Noivern. So at this point, I'm just going to U-turn again, still playing it safe. I have no reason to go risky with it. And catch the Rotom trying to burn me again. So this is kind of rinse and repeat right here for a little bit. But I Sleep Talk and get U-turn again. Super lucky on that. And I decided to change it up a little bit and go into a Scavalier because I know that he can't hit me at all. So again, I try to always have an out for myself when I play a Ditto. So having a non-invested top null with Shadow Claw and U-turn allows me to go into my Scavalier, even though it is my dedicated Haxorus switch in. I know that the top null is not going to do a lot, and I'm carrying the lefty, so I can kind of afford to just drop it in and just change up the cycle here and try to get the advantage somehow. And as you can see, I knocked off, which was very important. I did expect the Jirachi to come in, and I was really curious about his set. I couldn't get a feel for whether he was Scarf or some other non-boosting item, but he definitely wasn't like Bandit or anything like that. So I get the opportunity to knock off here, which kind of gave me the freedom later on to make certain moves and play certain ways. But I'm going to switch out here, not want to take a Fire Punch into my Rotom Heat, and I think I go into my Rotom Heat. So take the Fire Punch, and he U-turns out, which he's definitely faster than me, so that's good to know. Haxorus comes in, kind of surprised me, not gonna lie. Well, I take that back. Haxorus does it does resist both my stabs, but I personally wouldn't do it. But I guess from the damage, my opponent could gauge that I wasn't very defensive and maybe even choice the way I was playing it, so wasn't really. Oh well, and my opponent knew from the first turn that I didn't want Rotom Heat in against his Haxorus, so I guess my opponent thought it was a safe switch. So Thunderbolt does 42, which shows me in calcs that he's not very invested in HP or Spadef, which is fair for a Haxorus, normally very all-out attacking. So I'll just go ahead and take the time to switch back into my dedicated counter, Scavalier. Oh no! So unprofessional. Okay, so here we are. Okay, so take the EQ here. So from that, I can tell he's not banded or Life Orb, because you don't see Life Orb pop, which is super important. So in my mind, I thought that Haxorus would be Scarfed from here. I just assumed it. And the way that the Haxorus is played throughout the battle continued to allow me to believe that it was Scarf. So that is the reason why I made certain plays. But we'll see later what item it was. So take this time to knock off again, because I was going to try to get rid of the Scarf, so maybe I could do some work with some other members that I thought, like the Noivern would for sure outspeed anyway. So I'm really... Wait. Go back. Okay. So I knock off here, expecting either the Jirachi or the Rotom Wash. Now, the Jirachi would either take super effective damage. It wouldn't have an item anymore, but it would still do around 30 to 40%, I think. And I knew if Rotom came in expecting like an Iron Head or something like that, then I could get rid of its leftovers, because the leftovers were getting pretty annoying on the Rotom. Because as you can see, I don't have grass coverage, so it's kind of getting annoying to just let it regain health every time it was in. So I was glad he switched into Rotom Wash to allow me to get rid of the residual recovery. Now the only option that Rotom has for recovery is Pain Split, and as you can see, all 4 moves are already revealed. So I know that the Rotom has no more opportunities to recover, so that's really good. Now it just kind of the process goes back to the volt turn where I just chip it down turn by turn. The rotom is really the only thing standing between me and a Rhyperior win. So anyway, so I'm going to switch out to top null. It's fairly healthy. It's Spadef, so I don't have. I'm not. I will wake up this turn, but I switch back out into Escavalier, expecting like a fighting top move, like a close combat. Goes for Dragon Claw, which is fair. I just knock off again because it's the same. It's the same process. Even though neither Rotom Wash or Jirachi had an item, it still got the residual chip on both. I guess Jirachi could still have Wish, but even if the Rotom came in, I'm still just trying to whittle it down and make it so that Rhyperior can get in and do some work, or some of my other members can do work. So I'll switch into Noivern here. It takes both stabs, like I said. It doesn't really care if I get Wisp, because U-turn is not meant to really take a lot of damage or do a lot of damage to my opponent, but it's just there kind of to pivot around. I Dragon Pulse here. I thought it's fairly free. My opponents seemed to be kind of guarding their Ninetales pretty hard, so I wasn't too scared of them going into Ninetales. I didn't count at all for this turn. I just clicked buttons because, like I said, I'm just trying to chip things down and get them lower so that some of my other members can get in and do work, like the Grim and the Rhyperior. And this crit almost guaranteed mattered. I was modest, but I think my opponent had a fair amount of Spadef, but was definitely max HP. So I'm thinking this crit mattered, but I never calced it after, and I didn't calc it in the moment. So either way, get a little lucky. The Rotom's gone now, though, so my Rhyperior is looking pretty free. It's got super effective coverage for 3 members, technically, if you count the Ditto imposturing my own Rhyperior. And Ninetales is fairly frail, but I wouldn't want to stay in on that. So, anyway here, so switches in the Ninetales, pretty good play, because a lot of times Ninetales are choice in some manner, and even if not, there is no Noivern on Earth that wants to sit in front of a Ninetales. So I switch out into Rotom H, and he subs. I was like, ooh, okay. Maybe Nasty Plot, maybe got some Dark Pulse action for me. It goes for a Freeze Dry. I was kind of confused why you would set up a sub and then just go for Freeze Dry on a Rotom Heat, because obviously it's not very effective, and not only that, I don't have a Water type at all. So I don't know the moves or anything like that this particular Ninetales is carrying, but I really was not expecting a Freeze Dry, so I just Thunderbolt to break the sub. I didn't want to give too many opportunities for the Ninetales to set up. I get brought down by the Hail. Hail's annoying, but the Ditto comes out, and I Thunderbolt it again. So I'm Specs. I am Specs. So Ditto is in range of another Thunderbolt. So that's really, really good. That's really important for my team. So Ditto Volt switches out, kill the Jirachi. Good riddance. So Jirachi, if it had Wish, I don't think all 4 moves were. Yeah, it only had showed 2 moves. So if it did have Wish, that could be fairly annoying for like Haxorus longevity. Ditto. The Ninetales could get healthier, but even though these aren't like traditionally defensive mons, they still need their HP to do what they want to do. And so I was very thankful to get the Jirachi gone. That thing was getting kind of scary since my Rotom was so low. But here he just goes into Darm and U-turns out, which is fair play. I didn't want to save the 8% Rotom Heat and just I didn't want to save the Rotom Heat because its speed stat was going to be lower than everything else that my opponent had. So there was no point and giving my opponent momentum by U-turning. I knew that they were going to U-turn. And as you can see, don't know if y'all noticed it, but Rotom Heat outlasted the Rotom Wash. Rotom Heat better confirmed. Dutch oven. So, anyway, drops the Haxor Sand. So I go out into my Scavalier, my dedicated check, just EQs freely, which is fine. I get a crit there on the knockoff, but I knock off a Habanberry. So if I had dropped in the Noivern here, the battle could have been changed drastically, because I would not have KO'd with the Dragon Pulse, I don't think, with a Habanberry. I may have, but obviously I didn't check it because it didn't come into play. I think the crit mattered in the extent of saltiness and saltiness alone. But, well, yeah, I think it did. I don't think it mattered. I'm pretty sure I could have killed with Iron Head after. The knockoff without the crit would have done like 35%, 32, something like that. So it would have been at like 20 something, and Iron Head I'm pretty sure would have killed. So I don't, while it did look bad, I don't think it necessarily like mattered for sure. But anyway, my opponent just EQs again, which is fair play. I take the chance to flex a little and use Fell Stinger, but not only was it just pretty cool tech, I thought, that I brought, but it kind of guaranteed that Darm had to come in. Now, if I was smart looking back on it, I would not have done that, because the Ditto could have come in, and I was really wanting the Darm to come in, because if Darm comes in, it almost has to click Flare Blitz, and that was really what I was going for, because looking at it now, the Ninetales is about 66%. Okay, so I actually did calc this, and Rhyperior could kill the Ninetales pretty soon. I don't know if it could kill from 66, but it definitely did a lot of damage, so I really wanted the Darm to come in to allow me to drop in my Rhyperior, because Flare Blitz is the only move the Darm can kill my Escavalier with. So, looking back on it, I would not have clicked Fell Stinger, because the Ditto could have come in and probably killed me with knockoff. I'm not sure. But, yeah, so anyway, though, so I did get to click it, so that was pretty cool. Clicks Flare Blitz, which is what I wanted. Takes 9 on recoil. It wouldn't have showed me Life Orb anyway, so I'm really still just kind of in the dark about its moveset, except for it has 2 moves. I may have learned that it was Scarf from somewhere earlier in the battle, but I'm really not sure. Anyway, though, so I was assuming that it was Scarf, and if not, EQ was not going to kill me. So I knew that I could just drop in Rhyperior and click Earthquake right here and just do some big damage. So I EQ here, and it just kills the Ninetales clean. So that was really important. That was the last thing standing in the way of Rhyperior really just cleaning up everything. So here, my opponent doubles out into Darm, which is fair play, but again, since I knew all my moves on Rhyperior, I knew that Noivern it would take any hit that my Rhyperior would go for, so I knew that Noivern was a free switch, and since mine's Scarf, I can just click Dragon Pulse here, do clean 61%, and clicks Rock Slide to kill me. That would have killed anyway. I found out in the chat over here on the side that Darm was Scarf too, so the Scarf Noivern ended up being the right bring, but I know that Darm is Choice Scarf now, and drop in the Rhyperior to pick up the last 2 kills with EQ. Rhyperior, best mon, don't at me. Sadly though, my G-Max didn't get to come in. I really wish it would have, because this may be the only time I ever get to use a G-Max Grimmsnarl, but I told my team in the chat, me and Grimmsnarl are leading this team. Grimmsnarl's not doing a whole lot out there in the field of play, but he's an assistant coach in the back, so he's got my back if anything comes up. At this point, yeah, so I'm 1-1. That's pretty good. My team won the first week of ASPL. So at this point, week 2 was not decided. We ended up tying this week, so we don't have odd number of players on the overall team, so they can be ties like a soccer table, scores table basically. So we're 1-0-1 currently at this moment. I was really happy with my performance this week. I thought I built off of what I messed up on last week, which is the main thing. That's the main thing for me in draft league is like if I mess up one week, I'm going to try to at least learn a lesson out of the loss, even if I get a little salty. So, yeah, thanks everybody for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.